what if it never happens for you? Like, what if all of those things that you've been dreaming of, all of those ideas that you've been keeping inside, or all of those ideas that you've been thinking of that you hope become big ideas one day, what if it never happens for you? There's a world where that could be the reality for some people. Unfortunately, not everybody gets to have their dreams come to life. And I know that that's not what we all want to hear, but that's something that we all have to hear. That is a possibility that some of us have to grasp onto. And that's a reality that is hard for some of us to accept, because some of us just naturally have a mindset full of, like, a visionary mindset, where we thrive off of the idea of one day something grandiose happening because of something that we thought of or something that we did. But there is a world that exists where for some of us that might not come true. And a lot of times I would say that, unfortunately, like what would that be, dramatic irony in theater? I don't know. I don't know the correct theatrical term for it, but there's a lot of cases where the reason that people's dreams or ideas don't actually manifest is because of things that are far beyond their control, and they never would have had a say so in changing the fate of that, even if they wanted to. There's so many future millionaires that never became millionaires because they walked into a Starbucks 1 minute earlier than they should have on the timeline that would have made them a millionaire if they would have walked into that Starbucks 1 minute later, leading them down a completely different path. You know, like it's weird like that. But here's the thing. I know, at least for me, I do keep that in the back of my mind at all times, that there is a possibility that all of these dreams that I still have inside of me might not manifest in the way that I ideally would want them to manifest. But something about me is that carrot on the stick of the possibility of it even happening is what gets me going every day and pushes me to keep trying and trying and trying again until I don't have any more tries left, because God says I don't have any more tries left, meaning I'm not even a physical being on this planet anymore, because I'm going to keep trying. And I think that's probably something that I have in common in my mind with a lot of the great inventors of the past, where, you know, you hear the story of Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb and him saying, like, I don't know the exact number, but it was like, you know, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just learned 10,000 ways not to do it until on the 10,001st try, I got it right. Like, there's a part of that in me. I don't necessarily have a desire to invent material things like a light bulb, but my desire to invent and synergize and manifest new ideas and ways of thinking and perspectives, I'm always gonna keep trying. Like this, you know, even with this YouTube thing and making videos. Like, I've been making videos now and, you know, this type of content for, I don't know, I think I made my first YouTube video in 2014 or something like that. So it's almost been 10 years now, like on and off. And my purpose behind every single stint that I've like every single attempt that I've made in like generating some type of traction on YouTube or any other social media platform, the intent has always been to push new ways of thinking, to connect with other people, to offer other perspectives and to receive other perspectives, and ultimately just to build community around like forward thinking, to build community around open thinking, to build community around artistic visions, and build community around people who just don't want to be placed in the box that society has been trying to place us in since the day we arrived here on this earth. And so with that reality in the back of my mind, that my ideas may never manifest into the grandiose things that I wanted them to, the excitement behind still wondering and trying every day is just as strong now as it's ever been. Like it's different now that I'm in a different phase of my life. You know, when I was younger and I had that mentality, it was a lot more freeing because I didn't have as many responsibilities. Like I felt more, I didn't feel as guilty for thinking irresponsibly. And by thinking irresponsibly, I mean still believing in, you know, these big dreams that the grown-ups when we were kids told us that if it don't happen by such and such, you just need to give it up and, you know, get a real job and just conform or assimilate to the rest of society. And even our peers tell us that, like, bro, we 40 now, like, give it up, you know, just go. And I'm sorry, I just can't. That don't mean that I'm going to ditch my responsibilities now, because of course, I got a day job now. Even that, like, my day job now is to inspire people every day. I'm a 5th grade teacher, so in one way or the other, I'm still kind of manifesting what it is that I've always wanted to do. It's just not in the final form yet. But I don't even think that I would be able to have that spin on it, to look at my occupation now as some alternate version of the reality that I was dreaming of and thinking of and manifesting years ago. If I didn't have that spirit in me to keep trying, I would look at this as just a dead end. But I know that it's far from a dead end. It's just another road on the pathway towards where I'm ultimately trying to go. I mean, you hear stories of 3 Feet from Gold. I don't know if you've ever heard of that book before, but there's a book called 3 Feet from Gold that's kind of talking about exactly what I'm talking about, along the same spirit of that never giving up, because the excitement and hope of there possibly being, like you possibly getting a win, is enough to make you keep trying even amongst all your failures. The book 3 Feet from Gold talks about back during the gold rush, there was somebody who was looking for gold out on the West Coast and went out there, started digging, and, you know, they invested in this land to dig for gold. And then, for context, just in case, let me not assume that you know what the gold rush is, because not everybody does. It was a time in the 1800s on this continent, on the American continent, North American continent, where out in California, out here in the West, California, Nevada, all of these Western states were full of gold, and people were mining for the gold back in the 1800s, and now that was the gold rush. Obviously now, just like all the other natural resources on Earth, we done probably there's like you can't just go dig into the side of a mountain out here now and expect to find gold, because all the veins that were full of gold they're probably all tapped out now. I'm pretty sure there's still some out there, but I digress. Anyway, in this book, 3 Feet from Gold, it was during that era, and one of the characters in the book went out to look for gold, got to a point where he decided, this ain't worth it anymore, gave up, sold all his equipment. Somebody else came along, bought the equipment for the low and the land, and started digging where old boy left off, and 3 feet away. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's kind of like folklore, or is that folk tale, one of those. I'm pretty sure like they might be exaggerating on that a little bit. This story might even be an entire exaggeration. But in the story, just 3 feet from where the last person stopped was a new vein of gold. And the person who came in after the other person had done all the digging, and then that new person came in only having to dig 3 feet, just came up on fortunes and riches beyond anything he ever could have imagined. And so that's that spirit that I'm talking about, of just never being satisfied with being okay that the dream might never come true. As a realistic thinking person, you gotta have it somewhere in the back of your mind, because there's just so many things beyond our control. But as a person who still has the strong desire to make those things come true, you gotta know too that if you don't even keep trying, then there's no possible way at all that those dreams can manifest. You gotta at least give yourself a fighting chance. You gotta at least give yourself the opportunity to see what you can actually build and create with consistency and dedication and hard work, and committing to seeing something through, and committing to the outcome of putting all of that hard work into creating something that will ultimately add some type of value or benefit or bring something positive to somebody else's life. Those are usually the things that tend to have a lasting impact on the world. It's something that adds value and makes or solves a problem for somebody else. So if you have those ideas in you, and you have that desire to still do those things and still make those dreams manifest, you at least owe it to yourself to try until you ain't got no tries left, because a higher being or a higher authority in a spiritual way says that you ain't got no more tries left. But see what happens. Put the work in. Commit to it. Do more than just get excited about something and let the excitement and try not to let the excitement fade away until you look up weeks or months later and you thought about that thing again and it's just a thought again. This time, do something about it and give yourself the best possible chance to beat the odds of that thing never actually happening for you, because it probably can.